Welcome to the Restaurant Marketing Podcast, where we talk about how multi-unit brands successfully market at the local level. Today on the show, I want to welcome Sarah Keir, Chief Marketing Officer at Condado Tacos, a build-your-own taco concept. They call themselves a taco joint with a margarita problem. That sounds like a great problem to have. You'll find their 40-plus locations primarily in the Midwest, with a base in Columbus, Ohio. And we're currently trying to figure out if there's one in between a driving route I'm taking here in a couple of weeks. Anyway, one of the things that makes them a really unique business is a custom floor-to-ceiling mural painted by local artists that they have in every single store. Sarah was formerly the EVP of Marketing Services at Adept, an ad agency, where she advised CEOs and CMOs on brand growth strategies. Sounds like me. And now she heads all things marketing with a focus on experiential customers, experiences at Condado Tacos. Sarah has a 9-year-old tortoise named Walter. In fact, all of her pets have human names: Walter the tortoise, Susan the dog, and Phil, George, and Doug, who are all cats. Sarah, welcome to the Restaurant Marketing Podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
What's your favorite thing to order at Condado Tacos?
So I am a little non-traditional, and I usually get the bowl. We do a really incredible build your own bowl. And I, at this point, love being able to add and try out a variety of toppings and new sauces. So I'm actually a bowl person, but tacos is obviously the majority of what we do, but we do a pretty mean bowl too.
Awesome. Cameron here seems to think so as well. So thank you, Cameron. By the way, if you're listening to the show live and you have a question, you want to comment, just throw us a comment. We'll bring them up on the screen if you have a good question or comment. So thank you. Were you always a bowl person, or did a bowl just kind of happen?
So at Condado, I actually, especially if you end up getting to visit soon too, I highly recommend that you do kind of like the 3-course meal of Condado, which is like, obviously you have to start with the marg.
Speaking my language, keep going.
Then you've got to try out a dip sampler. So we have what we call 3 buds, and you can do any of our quesos, our guac. We have a really great Mexican street corn, all of those dips. We have a really mean dip game. So I highly recommend trying that, and then get your tacos. So it's like the trifecta of a dining experience. So that is what I would recommend to anyone going for the first time.
I fully expect an update to your Instagram bio today that says a really mean dip game. And if you do not buy the URL reallymeandipgame.com by the end of the day, I will, because that's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome.
What's as somebody who oversees marketing for lots of locations all over the place, what's like the biggest challenge you face on a daily basis?
Yeah. So, it is constantly that struggle of prioritization between things that feel, urgent right now and long-term strategy, right? So Condado is kind of in fast growth mode. When I joined, we were at 24 locations. We're now at 44 locations, opening our 45th next month in St. Louis. And one of the first things that I did when we joined was we launched a big consumer research project to really understand who our consumers were, how we can differentiate in this growingly competitive space of tacos, especially, what could be interpreted as like kind of trendy tacos, as unorthodox tacos. So we did a big consumer research project, which was incredibly helpful to really just learn about our guests and who they were and how, what they love about us today, how we can best serve them. And coming out of that, we've been really working on brand positioning for ourselves of, how we can enter new markets successfully and how we can grow brand awareness in existing and emerging markets for ourselves. So we're working on this really incredible kind of like brand level strategy and campaigns, and that is so exciting. And then you have your like everyday life, right, of like all of the other stuff that needs to happen when we're opening new stores and we're launching LTOs and we have, new menu designs coming. And so it is constantly a struggle, as I'm sure you can understand too, especially working agency side, with just prioritization of like the big important stuff that's not necessarily on fire, but is really, important. And then also all of your everyday kind of like tactical things that need done.
I have so many questions now, but let's stay on topic. How do you make that decision? So here's 10 things you got to do today. How do you figure out what needs to be prioritized?
Well, I I have to say I have a really great team. So it's not just me, right? And that's kind of like the other part that was, onboarding to Condado was just starting to put the right people in the right places, so that they, I can bring someone in and they're able to do their role really well, and I can be a little bit more hands off. So plugging those people in has been incredibly beneficial. We have a role dedicated to opening new stores and to field marketing, so LSM, local store marketing. Multiple people in house who are specifically dedicated to content and social, because as you know, that's kind of like an always on game, especially with TikTok and video kind of really changing the game over the last 5 years. So it's not just me, but it is still a struggle. Let me tell you, it's not something that is, it's easy. It's kind of a day to day, how we can best support the field and continue to grow. And so.
Cool. So you have team members to support you. Let's talk about the division of labor in your team.
Yeah.
So you said somebody who handles basically what I would call IRL marketing. So LSM, community management, new store opening, real life marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Then sounds like you have somebody who does social, digital. Do they handle all digital, email too, loyalty? Like, how do you break up your team?
Yeah, so we split out loyalty. So what would we kind of think of as customer experience into its own role. So that team member manages our loyalty. We have a loyalty app. They also kind of moonlight doing community management for us, because as you know, small team, you kind of do a variety of things. And then really that retention and growth strategy too play a role there. And then multiple people full-time dedicated to content development, design. And then we work with someone who helps with media in-house for us. And then a variety of partners, as you know, different agency partners handling things like digital media for us and SEO and those things.
Man, you sound like you have a team the size of McDonald's. I love it. Awesome. Who owns new guest acquisition?
So really that is kind of owned by everyone, I would say. So right now, new guest acquisition is happening on a variety of fronts. When we're entering new markets, we're opening new stores, that is a great opportunity for us to acquire new guests. And you kind of have this like window of time where you're like the cool new place, right, in town. So we want to capitalize on that as much as possible. And really over the last few years, we've created a pretty great process, and we're constantly refining that, but we've created a great process for entering new markets. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. If you like, we can go into that a little bit more, but as much as we can, we want to rinse and repeat wherever possible, knowing that you're going to have to customize. It really makes sense because every single market is different. You really can't create the exact same thing and expect it to do as well in every market. So we try to kind of like the first step with new customer acquisition is entering the community in the right way. So understanding that neighborhood, that city, even things as elementary as what we call the store. So we do SEO research, localized research to understand like what is the right name for this restaurant in this market. It's going to help with local search. It's going to help just with recognition if someone is searching there, if it's showing up in a way that like they know that part of town, right? And then as you mentioned, we have local artists who are painting the walls of our stores, which is super helpful because our art team is able to work with those local artists to essentially build local Easter eggs into the art. So example being St. Louis, we open there next month. St. Louis kind of has this interesting history with true crime. There was, I think it was kind of a throughway back in the 20s and 30s. And so there are just these well-known kind of mobsters or different kind of treasure hunty things built into the wall art where, and landscapes too. So if you're a local, it automatically feels recognizable and local to you, and it's kind of fun. And then we do something that has worked really well for us. that is in what we call an all access night. So before we open, we do several like friends and family training events. But then we do an all access night where we're inviting local influencers, media. It can be like a media preview night. It really is exciting because, it's kind of like you get to experience the store before anyone else does. And it gets us great content. Social influencers, that has been something else that has really changed over the last couple of years. Word of mouth marketing is now not just like me asking my friends, what's great. There are these, local influencers that have a lot of sway over their, especially, the vloggers, the kind of like informal food critics. If we can get those people in our door, wine, margarita and dine them, then they're going to put content out there, talking about us, showing what it looks like inside. And that creates a lot of buzz for us, kind of out of the gate. So that has worked really well on the new marketing front for us. And then, on the existing established front, that's really where we have the biggest opportunity. That was one thing that was uncovered during that consumer research, was that Condado actually still has pretty low brand awareness, even in established markets. So, and when guests learn about us, they're pretty inclined to try us, but it's just getting that word out there. So it is, digital is the majority of what we do today related to new customer acquisition. But doing more of that is definitely in the future.
I have so many questions. This has been, so far, it's been an amazing conversation that's just leading to more questions. So I'm actually taking my own notes. All right. I want to break down a couple of things you talk about.
Yeah.
I want to dial in for a second into the consumer research.
Yeah.
So I've seen a number of brands do this, and the report comes back and goes, hey, your guests also shop at mobile gas stations. Oh, really? Thanks. That was helpful. Or your guests also drink at Starbucks. Oh, really? That was really insightful. And so I've seen a number of those where it's just like, you just described to everybody.
Yep.
How do you, in doing like that consumer research, like how do you get around the obvious and really get to brass tacks that like give you insightful ideas on what to do next?
Yeah. So, I think that we were very fortunate in the fact that the recommendation that and who we used to do this research, it came from one of Condado's board members who has a wide depth of knowledge, because he has done this for like 4 or 5 brands and really kind of has this process down. I also, coming from agency side, and this wasn't something that we did on our side, but we partnered with a lot of agencies who did this. And it was always a mixed bag of what you would get back and how valuable and actionable it would be. But, the way that we went about getting the way that we went about doing this research and what we got back was incredibly valuable. And ultimately, what it boiled down to in the quantitative, those takeaways were the psychology around dining. So it was broken out into our consumers were broken out into segments, right? I think there were like 5 total segments of people who dine at Condado, right? But they were broken down into how they made choices related to dining. So our top kind of segment for Condado is what we call the socializer. They are, it's in the name. There are people who are very social. They're outgoing. They like to go out with a small group of friends. They want a place where everyone can find something that they like. They like a place that has atmosphere. They want really good food. They want a variety of dietary options. So they really appreciate that at Condado we have vegan options, we have vegetarian, we have gluten-free. We really can cater to the majority of people. So we learned about their preferences as a person related to dining, and that socializer segment for us, it really over indexes. It makes up more than half of our dining occasions. This consumer does. They're more loyal. They're more frequent for us. So for us, it really gave us like a playbook of what kind of marketing, what kind of loyalty and retention strategies would make sense from us to this type of person, if that makes sense.
Sure. Okay. So let's say you've been given 5 ICPs or 5 avatars.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're like, this is the one that over indexes.
Yes.
then do you take that and look at your marketing strategy and going, we're doing everything just to talk to them? Or do you like 80% goes to them? Or like, how do you think about your marketing mix as it applies to like the over indexing type of guest?
It's such a great question. So we have kind of like a second segment that is like, the second most important, and they're a foodie, like someone who really, really enjoys, considers themselves a foodie. I'm sure you know one, or you may be one. And the way that we're thinking about this really, if we're going to be focused on our core consumer while being friendly to the rest of the segments. We don't want to ignore the other people. We know about them too. There's, the kid friendly. There's the parent that is ultimately making choices for something that their kid will eat too, right? Like, so we want to be focused, like our marketing will be focused really on our top consumer while also taking into consideration all of the other people that we know are dining at Condado.
Amazing. By the way, you just named 3 customer buckets that I fit in each.
Right.
If you were in a situation where you didn't have the money to hire an agency or relationships, like how would you tell a brand to go get that information about their own guests? Like, let's say they just want to run like kind of like their own version of that. What would you suggest?
Yeah, there's definitely surveying that can be done that can give you kind of like that quick and dirty feedback related to those same dining preferences that we talked about. So, if you've got a CRM, if you've got a loyalty program and you don't have the money to necessarily go do this, like, statistically significant, data research project, then you could absolutely kind of follow the same process, surveying your guests. And then we also did focus groups. So, we brought in loyal consumers to Condado, and we brought in people who fit into those other categories that had never heard of Condado. And we talked with them. We got feedback on our brand, on other brands that they dine, like just to understand kind of, again, what makes us different, what they really love, if there's anything that, is a pain point today. And it's been very helpful. So.
Amen. So like, let's say that I own a hamburger shop.
Yep.
Let's use my hamburger shop as an example. Let's say I could kind of guess what I think what our 5 ICPs are.
Yep.
Would I send out an email with one question that says, which one of these are you? Like, is that a good first step?
So, in a way, if there is like, so it, again, like if it going back to those segments of how you make decisions related to dining, in a sentence or two, like which do you most closely relate to when you're making dining decisions? Like which of these buckets do you fall into? Or I mean, I think that is, you could absolutely start there.
Awesome. I will do it and I will share the results.
Yes, do it.
All right.
Love it.
You also talked about, from that consumer research, getting insights about local SEO. I'm a big SEO player. Can you kind of talk through how that works and how you implement what you learn?
Yeah. So, so on the local side, there is that research up front that we're doing to just really understand that community, and that is in a lot of ways related to keyword research. To help us with store name across digital, making sure our location pages. That was another bigger project that we undertook. We worked with Yext, and they power our location pages. Yeah, it's great, like scalable tools, right? Like, and that is an awesome one.
Former director of marketing and in charge of hospitality at Yext.
Oh, we love Yext. We're a big Yext fan.
Yeah, most of my clients are using Yext as well. They're using it through Marquee, but yeah, it's an incredible program.
That would have been a fun role too. That's a cool company. So, so we realized that the majority of our traffic, we spend so much time on our website homepage, right? Like that's where it feels like 90% of your thoughts go to, like, what's on the homepage, what are we featuring, blah blah blah. We realized that actually more of our website traffic was entering through location pages. So location pages were our homepage, right? Like, a lot of people probably never saw the homepage, or maybe they saw, but they definitely weren't entering there. So we did a revamp of our location pages with Yext to just highlight those brand elements about Condado, our culture, our food, our people. right where they're landing first on those location pages. And that we heavily, relied on our digital team to support us with, what content, but then also just making sure that we're making it make sense for the consumer, and really trying to like give them an experience that would be the best first kind of impression of Condado. So
awesome. Do you put the address of the restaurant in the URL for the landing page or the local page?
We do the store name. Yep. Exactly.
By the way, you want to take it up a notch? Here's a tactic.
Okay.
You go look at McDonald's does this. So like if they're doing it, it must be the right way.
Yeah.
If you're like 1-2-3-4 Main Street, Dublin, Ohio, it's McDonald's /ES / blah 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 /123 /Main Street /Dublin /
So we don't do that. That is very interesting. That's awesome. I'll take a note on that one. So awesome.
I learned that when I used to work with Mellow Mushroom. They tried it and like their SEO results were ridiculous. And I was like, okay, everybody's doing this now. And I looked at Arby's does it, McDonald's does it. And I was like, again, I don't need to figure this out. Somebody else already has. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. But as you know, it's like a lot of consumers today, unless they're really trying to like check you out, it's like they might never reach your website. Like you also have to make sure that like your Google business profile is like buttoned up, because a lot of people like that is in a way a homepage for your business, right? So that was another kind of just revamping that, what information we have there, just making sure again that we're kind of like putting our best foot forward across all of the digital touch points, which are many, as you know.
God bless. Amen. All right. We have less than 9 minutes to go, and I still have 800 questions. So I want to talk about new store openings. Do you say NSO or do you say NRO? I can't figure out what
we say NRO, and I apologize. I probably dropped like 100 acronyms already, but you know how that goes. So yes, new restaurant openings or NROs is what we say.
We've always said NSO, but maybe I'm wrong. What's like your general playbook in terms of marketing for a new store opening?
Yeah. So do you have all day? I'm just kidding.
I said, just the bullet points.
So we like coming off of that all access event, and then another big activation that I didn't mention. We have this like trademarked event, which has worked really well again to just create excitement, that we call a Year of Yum. So for the first 100 people in line opening day, we give them a year of free tacos. So they get one free taco a week for a year. And wow. It's really fun. We get to promote that on social. It gets a nice long line out our door. We even have had people camp out over, and oh my goodness, where was that? In Grand Rapids, it was like snowing and there were people camping. It was hardcore. I'm like, wow, you guys know how to do it here. And we run all of that through our loyalty program. So that's really nice because we give them their free tacos. We get them signed up with loyalty right away, and then they get their free tacos, in their account every week for that year. But so that again kind of just helps create that buzz and that excitement for us opening. And then coming out of that opening, we're spending more on all of those same digital touch points, but we're spending more in search. We're spending more in social, those kind of same national campaigns, but we're giving those new markets some extra love because they just don't have the brand awareness that we have elsewhere, right? So, and then we have a really great local store marketing program that has really evolved over time, continues to evolve over time. But the team put together, our manager of this department put together a playbook. So we have, as much as we can to templatize kind of like what makes sense for local marketing and how you can activate across a variety of different, events or sponsorships or, in-store activations and trying to make that as much of a, off the shelf program as possible and then we're also still supporting them, helping them identify opportunities, but we're actually a very small team. Like it might have sounded like we have many, but we're a pretty nimble and small team. So as much as we can empower the team, we do that.
Awesome. All right. So if I'm hearing correctly, new store opening or new restaurant opening, you're doing some Google search ads. Yeah.
Yep.
You're running ads on Meta. Are you running awareness, traffic, conversion? What are you running?
On across the Meta platforms, we do both. So we do both conversion focused ads and what we consider like more like brand awareness ads, and then we have our organic page as well that we're posting to, and we actually created a little rubrics for social, to kind of like check mark across both paid and organic what our goals are. So by channel, because it really kind of varies, and TikTok, like I think year one TikTok, the goal was solely to entertain. Like people don't want to be sold to necessarily, especially by a brand on TikTok. So yes, we're doing all of the social channels.
Awesome. Side note, I am interviewing the TikTok for Restaurants team on stage at the QSR Summit early next month. And in our pre-show planning, I was like, come on, what's the secret? Like, what's the one thing? And they literally said, be entertaining.
Yes.
They were like the hashtags, time of day, like how long is your video? Like they're like marginally important.
Yes.
And nothing more important is like just having good content. So I
was yes, exactly.
I was like, dang it, I'm a growth hacker. Like,
you're like, tell me more about this. Yes, 100%.
That is awesome. All right, so let's go through this real quick. New store opening playbook, Google search, Meta ads, your conversion ads. Are you like giving an acquisition offer, sending to a landing page, that type of thing?
It is not that sophisticated. It's more ads that are sales activation in nature, right? So we're talking about happy hour, we're talking about patio. The intent is to drive foot traffic or online sales, right? So if Olo purchases, etc.
So like order now type of thing.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so Google search, Meta ads, local SEO. You have influencer, PR. Any other like secret tactics to an NRO that work for you? The Year of Yum.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, those feel like the big ones. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, real quick.
Yeah.
Influencers, word of mouth. How do you manage and activate an influencer word of mouth program?
We are in the process of this right now. And I really, the team and I feel like this is probably one of like the biggest areas of opportunity for us. It helps that we have that point where we can reach out and invite them to this cool event and we can make that connection there. But really, it's a work in progress for us. And it's something that we've played around with outsourcing it. I at this point, the team and I feel like this is just going to be better served with us managing it completely in-house, just with feels similar to kind of organic social. So, check back in. Let's check back in 6 months and hopefully I have like a better, more defined answer for you, but it really has still been like very much like, testing and trialing what works. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I tell my clients, like, if you're going to get into influencer marketing, it kind of has to be an always on channel.
Yes.
Like, you don't just like turn it on once and like, that's it. There's no magic bullet. And so the playbook that I usually recommend to my clients is like, look, work with a whole bunch of influencers and find like, I don't know, 5 to 10 that just really love the brand. Like they love it. They get it. Their content's great. Like they're the dream influencer, and just work with them all the time. Like give them almost like a VIP pass, like that they can come in and do anything they want anytime, and treat them as part of your team. And like, it works. It works every time.
The relationship. And I love that. I love that thought. And I love this starting with the 5 to 10. I think that's great advice. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. As we're starting to wrap up here, any like super deep tactics that you think lots of people get wrong that you're like, hey, I just want to share this thing with you that'll help you with all your marketing? No pressure. No pressure.
So this is one that I think that, again, I've seen this done in a variety of ways, but the immediacy of content that's needed in today's age with being active on social and really that like smartphone storytelling, which is like a real thing of like, we're not talking like highly produced videos. We're just talking videos that are shot with your iPhone. Doing that content in-house. Just having, if someone, it's their full role, it's part of their role, but they are dedicated to making that content for you, versus trying to like always make big produced videos or like elaborate photo shoots and stuff. I think that the photo that is behind the backdrop right now, I think that was shot on an iPhone. So it's like, just you can make it look pretty good. So that is one, piece of advice that I feel like was definitely helpful for us as we've scaled.
Awesome. Well, Sarah Kerr from Condado Tacos is an amazing conversation. We could have probably gone 3 hours, but it's a 30-minute show. So I want to thank you for being on the show today. If you're listening live, thanks for joining us live. Definitely thank you, Cameron, for all these comments. That was amazing. If you're listening to the show on audio or otherwise, please share the show with somebody that you think would be interested. If you think somebody would make a good guest that you would know, reach out to me, add a comment, whatever. And if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or any of those ones, we love ratings and reviews just like a restaurant. So thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.